All right, so assorted brands. I made a post about some of the things that I found under the assorted brands category on Thredup, and you guys wanted to see how I do it. So here it is. This is how I found brands like Stella McCartney, Spell and The Gypsy, yes, Madeworn, a lot of new to me brands that ended up being really great flips. And so these are my tips and tricks. I'm going to share them all with you really quickly. First, a late night lister merch. We are dropping some new items on Monday, so make sure you're following me on Instagram, and you'll get a notification when we drop those items. So I'm really excited about them. It's a good time to pick things up for the holidays. You can get a little stocking stuffer, you can get some gifts for yourself, and then two, if you're not signed up for Thredup, I'm assuming most of you are if you're watching this video, but if you're not, you can use my link. It'll be below if you're watching it on YouTube. If you're watching this on Instagram, I will make it the link in my bio. You can get $10 off to shop, and that does give me $10, which is fun. Give a little, get a little, give a little. You can use my link or not, but yeah, so let's get into the tips. Basically what assorted brands are, Thredup processes literally thousands of items a day. And so they're either brands that they don't have in their system, because like I said, they cannot go researching every brand. They're either brands that they don't have in their system, or it's an error, which if you're processing thousands of items a day, obviously there's going to be errors. And both of those things are great opportunities for us deal hunters. All right, so there's several different categories that I search under. First place I'd go is the clothing tab. This is like the big overall. This includes accessories, this includes shoes, this includes purses and clothing. So this is going to be the most overwhelming way to search. And the only reason why I do this is because I've looked through assorted brands so much that I can kind of get a quick overview of what's new for the day, what's dropped, what's new in assorted brands. A way to narrow it down, and some other categories I like to look into, is the outlet category. And this is the category of, it's kind of their last stop for items that haven't sold. They're deeply discounted, and they have a tier system of, if you buy a certain amount of items, then you get a certain amount off. So this is a great way to pick up quite a few items. I think you have to buy 20 items under the outlet category, you get 40% off, and they're already really low prices. So this is a way that I have gotten some things for like $4, $3, really super cheap. And when you're taking a gamble, that's a nice way. But something to keep in mind is this is final sale. Everything in that category is final sale. So you're taking the gamble. It's truly a gamble because you're going to be stuck with whatever it is that you get. Category number 3 that I like to go to is the juniors category. And this is kind of a weird place on Thredup where they stuff anything that's a size that they don't recognize. And so what's great about that is I love sourcing vintage under the juniors category, because if you sell vintage or wear vintage, you know the sizing is all over the place. It can be odd numbers. And so I find a lot of things there. Also, some really high-end designer items, they use kind of a vanity sizing where something will be sized like a 1 or a 3 or whatever. And so again, Thredup doesn't really know where to place those. They don't have the time to like search each brand and how they size things and all that jazz. So that lives, some of it is in the normal category, but a lot of it lives in the junior category. And that's something I just discovered recently. But by far, junior category for vintage pieces, I love it. So I also just want to reiterate that this is a gamble. And so the tips I'm going to share with you are ways to kind of help you feel more confident about taking this gamble. So there are a couple ways to actually know without a doubt what brands you're getting. The first category I like to look at is shoes, because if you click on a pair of shoes and go to the second photo, if it's an item where the shoe has just a tiny bit of a heel, you should be able to see the insole. And so shoes are super easy to see brands on. I found like Paul Green in there. I've picked up some vintage. I've seen a lot of like Anthropologie brand shoes in there because they're kind of like obscure, smaller brands that Anthropologie carries. And so that's like a foolproof way of seeing the actual brand, is looking at shoes that have the insole visible. It doesn't necessarily have to have a heel. It just depends on the way that they take the photograph. And so that does take some time that you're going to be clicking on each picture, kind of zooming in and seeing what the brand is. And so what I like to do to narrow that down is I filter for leather. So obviously it's more expensive to make shoes with leather, and so this can be a way to kind of weed out the very inexpensive brands. I mean, I think like Target's making shoes with leather now, so it's not foolproof, but it is a way for me to narrow it down because there's like thousands and thousands of items. So sometimes I will look through them without the leather filter, but that is a really great way to filter for a good quality shoe, is by filtering for leather. Other things I look at is the overall construction. Like, does it look nice? I mean, if you're a reseller, if you are a shoe reseller, you kind of know how a shoe is built, like what kind of shoes are higher end by the way that it's built. Does it have any like interesting details? How is the stitching done? What does like the piece of the sole that you can see look like? And so those are things that are kind of something that you learn over time as a reseller, is looking for quality pieces. But that is something that I look at, is how is it made? What does like the interior look like? The pieces that I can see, what does the sole look like? The stitching and things of that nature. So the next way you can know exactly what you're getting is sorting for new tags items. That is in the filters. You go down to condition and click on new tags. So that's going to only show you things under assorted brands that are new tags. And a lot of times you can zoom in and see exactly what the brand is. Sometimes it's not super evident, but I kind of know, like if you've ever seen a really cheap, like made in China, you know, like really fast fashion tag, there's like very minimal information on it. It'll just like have a size dot medium and some like numbers. Like those are the items that you want to stay away from. But you can kind of tell by the way the tag is made, how it's attached, if it's a higher end item. And sometimes you can see the actual brand. The next tip, I have to give credit where credit's due, is to Denali. When we were talking, Denali from El Ducho Thrift. I'm sure as soon as I say Denali, you all know I'm talking about El Ducho. If you don't, check her out. She's amazing. We were chatting. I was on her podcast a couple weeks ago, and so we're chatting about this assorted brands category, and she was like, oh, do you use Google Lens? And I was like, no, but that's a great idea. And so now I'm going to. And so over the last couple weeks, I have been using Google Lens a bit. It isn't fail proof. Like, it has to be an item that is very unique. And even then, sometimes you can't really find anything. But there has been specifically shoes where you just screenshot it, go over to your Google browser, put it into Google Lens, and it'll bring up some suggestions. And there's been several things that I've found the exact brand, the exact item. And in this case for me, they've ruled out items that I haven't wanted to get because they just weren't like great comps. But Google Lens is a really, really fantastic tool as a reseller for not just on assorted brands, but you can find like original listings for things. You can find details for your listing really quickly, like fabric content or measurements or whatever. Lens is a great tool. And so thanks Denali for narrowing down my assorted brands searching by bringing that little tip to my life. Okay, so really quick, I'm going to interject here. While I was preparing for this video, it was during their Black Friday sale, and so I placed a very large order of assorted brands so that I could have a haul to show you guys, that I can unbox it, because it's really like totally a mystery to me The things that I've bought, I have like no idea what the brands are. And so if you're interested in seeing the haul for what I bought under the Assorted Brands category, let me know, leave a comment, send me a DM, whatever. I'm probably going to make the video regardless, but I'd like to hear if you want to see it. And so the next thing is jeans and athletic wear. Jeans, if you click on it, or just kind of like if you're using your web browser, if you scroll over, it'll flip you to the back side of the jeans, and you can see the like little leather like brand patch on the back of the jeans, or like any stitching detail that you might be familiar with. I haven't had great luck with jeans. I actually have a pair of jeans. I'm like looking down at them right now. They're killing me. I cannot figure out what brand they are. I think it's just a lost cause. I've had them for way too long, hoping that I would be able to discover what brand they are, and I think it's just lost to me. But I think they're just some obscure brand that I'm never gonna like discover. But that is a way. Like, I've seen Levi's, I've seen Madewell, I've seen One Teaspoon. So totally like well-known brands, but for whatever reason, they ended up in Assorted Brands, and you can grab them at a great price. Because Assorted Brands, if they don't know what the brand is, if it goes into the system and they don't know what the brand is, their like estimated retail price is going to typically be a lot lower than it would be if they knew what the brand is. And so I've been able to find amazing deals. The way that I like to kind of narrow things down and look through things more systematically than just like trudging through literally hundreds of pages of listings, I like to sort for material. So like I talked about with the shoes, I sort for leather and shoes. Sometimes I like to sort for leather and clothing. I found really cool like leather, vintage leather, vintage suede coats that I picked up. And so I like to sort for leather because, like I said, leather equals quality sometimes. Not always, but most of the time, leather equals quality. And so I like to sort for leather under handbags, under clothing, under shoes, under belts. I found really cool belts. And so leather is one of my favorite categories. Next would be wool. I like looking for like wool coats, wool like button-up shirts. Linen is a good one. Linen is a pretty big category, doesn't narrow things down quite as much, but linen's a good one. And silk. Oh, and cashmere. Silk and cashmere. I found really, really cool stuff narrowing things down, searching by materials. And those are just high-end, more high-end materials. I will say I've been really enjoying sourcing vintage. And so a lot of things were made from like polyester, synthetic fabrics, acrylic specifically. So sometimes I will sort for acrylic because I know that was like a widely used material for vintage items. Obviously it's still used, but it's all about narrowing things down, kind of like poking around and seeing what you can find. And deciding to buy something, I like to favorite a lot of things, and then I'll go back through them and really look more into the details. And so one of the things that I found that was amazing was a Spell and The Gypsy dress. And so the second I saw it, I was kind of like, could it be? So I'm comparing between Spell and The Gypsy dresses that I'm seeing on Poshmark to Spell and this dress on the Assorted Brands. And so I was zooming in, and the thing that got me was on the ties in the back, the little like waist ties had little like metal details at the tips. A knockoff brand isn't going to take the time to do that. There's always exceptions. But typically a knockoff brand, they're just trying to get the like overall style so that they can like market it to people at a way cheaper price. And it's also way cheaper for them to manufacture. So those little metal ties, I was like, okay, I think we have a match here. And sure enough, that's what it was. So really look at details, the way like how the zipper is put in, the way like patterns match up on seams, like covered buttons, things like that. And so those are all things that are just continuing to like build my confidence that like this may be something that I want to buy and check out. Thredup has a really great return policy. Make sure that the item doesn't say final sale. It will always say final sale. If it is, handbags are final sale. And so that's something you got to weigh out yourself. If it's in your business model, if it's in your budget to take a gamble on an item that you know you can't return. Typically I'm purchase things that either I will just wear myself, or it's a style that I'm confident will sell regardless of it being like a super crazy brand. So these are all things to weigh. How much is it? How much is it listed for? Sometimes I will favorite something and wait until it goes on sale. Like I said, I just placed a huge order during their Black Friday sale, and I purchased items that were like 30 to 50% off, and so I got some really great brands. Another thing is I send in boxes of inventory, like stale inventory I'm not going to list myself. You get 500 points. They have a like reward system now, so you get like 500 points per box that you send in. So I had several thousand points knocking around, and for every 1,000 points you have, you get $10 off your order. So that's another way to really like knock down the price and reduce the risk that you're taking. So sometimes I will place multiple orders in the same day because you can only use like, so I'll place an order with the $10 off coupon on like one item, and then I'll click the bundle option. So you have 7 days to bundle like all the items that you're purchasing into one, so that it's all shipped together. You only pay for shipping once, and if you get over a certain amount, then shipping's free. I think if you spend over $75 within 7 days, then the shipping's free. So I always click that bundle button, because regardless of if I get to that $75 item, if I'm going to be ordering more items than just one, then I'll only be paying $5.99 for shipping once. So I'll purchase like one item and it's listed at $19.99. I'll use the $10 coupon. I only pay $9.99 for that item. That's way more in line with the prices that I'm finding at thrift stores, and take that $10 gamble. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, I can either return it, I can keep it for myself, I can give it to my mom, my sister, I can repurpose it in some way, you know. So these are all things to consider when you're sourcing this way. It is a gamble, but I have found it to be really fun. I found it to be a great way. I've learned so much about new brands. I've picked up a ton of brands that I've never heard of before that I probably would have never found in thrift stores, and they were great flips, like I'm like over $100, over $50 flips. So all right, so I'm gonna wrap it up. That's what I have to say about assorted brands. But if you have any comments, please leave them below. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see that haul. And up next is going to be my video about selling on Grailed, which is a menswear platform. And I'm just getting started on there. I have some tips, I have some thoughts, and it's going to be kind of like an intro video on how to get started on Grailed. So let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment, say hello, and I will see you guys very soon.